In today's market, can you imagine purchasing a property with 0% interest? Well, Damon Boudreaux has done it, and I've got him on the show today, and we're chatting all about creative real estate investing strategies. Damon shares pieces of his real estate adventures and different ways to structure creative real estate deals. I know that 0% interest deal got my attention, and I can't wait to hear what sticks out in this episode for you.
Welcome to the Manifestation and Money podcast, where we bridge the worlds of the taboo topic of money with the woo-woo world of manifestation. We're your hosts, Chris and Jenny Schultz.
We're not just about dollars and cents around here. We're all about lifestyle design. You can be working towards financial independence while still living a life you love today.
Get ready for insightful conversations with guests who have embraced the FIRE movement by achieving financial independence and retiring early, as well as entrepreneurs and individuals who've defied the norm and have paved their own way to a life they love.
Together, we'll explore the powerful connection between mindset, financial freedom, and living a purposeful life. And of course, we'll be sharing our own journey to how we carved our path to a seven-figure net worth before hitting the big 4-0. Are you ready to ignite your financial future? Then let's dive right in.
Welcome to the Manifestation and Money podcast, where your journey to financial independence and the life you love begins now.
Welcome to the Manifestation and Money podcast, Damon.
Hey, great to be here, Jenny.
I am excited to have you on the show, and today we're going to talk about real estate. So I would love for you to share with the listeners a little bit about who you are and what your story is.
Well, I started learning about real estate back in 2003, and I did my first creative real estate deal in 2004. And what really got me going into real estate was actually I was working at a job that I did not like at the time, and I was looking for ways that I could get out of that job to start making some income on the side. I tried different things, and then I stumbled across real estate. But at the time, I thought you could only do it traditionally, where you can only go to the bank, you had to save a lot of money. And at the time, I didn't have a ton of money saved. I was just 1, 2, 3 years outside of high school. So I went straight to work and I didn't have a ton of savings, but I wanted to get in real estate because I wanted to get out of that job. And it was one night actually where I couldn't sleep because when you're thinking about a job that you hate going to, sometimes it's just stressful. So one night I actually was watching TV and an infomercial popped up about how to buy real estate, actually doing it creatively. And I knew I was onto something there. I'm like, this would work for me because I didn't have a ton of money saved to go buy traditionally. And what I did was I invested into the program and I started going over that material that they had. And I went out there and I started implementing it. And I did my first deal. It was a creative deal. I didn't have any money into the deal at all. And basically what I did is I leased the property from a homeowner. They were in a situation where they needed to sell the property. They could not wait. It was like 30 days, they would potentially lose the home because they were starting to miss out on payments. So what I did was I went in there with the strategy and I helped them out. And by doing that, I was able to put someone else in the property who bought the property, and I made an income in between. I made over $23,000 on that deal, and I didn't put any money into the deal, but I made money on that. And at that point there, I did it. I made money on this from real estate, and I didn't have to go out there and buy the property or anything like that. So I kept going with it. It lit a fire under me to go and make another one. So I started going out there, and I actually was just getting ready to do my very next deal, and the unexpected happened. The place that I was working at laid everyone off. And at that point there, it was like I got hit with like a ton of bricks. And it was at that time there, I had to make a decision. Do I want to go get another job, potentially another one that I hated? Or do I actually want to try to focus on this and do this and make it happen? And in that moment there, I made a decision. I said, I'm going to go all in on this. And I did. And I never looked back. I started doing deals. I started doing them consistently. And it provided the money I needed. And over time, I've been able to acquire properties because you can use these strategies with seller financing type of deals where you can actually acquire a property where the seller will finance the sale to you. So it allows you to get the property without ever having to step foot in a bank at all. You can actually take ownership of that property and you can add that to your portfolio. And over time, we've done that. Deals that maybe we didn't want to hold or stay in there too long, we've turned those over. And ones that we like, we keep those. We can keep them in our portfolio. And that's how we built our business from that. And by doing that, by basically focusing and actually implementing and doing the real estate when I was learning at the time and actually making that decision when it came down to it, that changed my life. It changed my life.
I believe that because you're at a job, you're not liking it. I can resonate with that so much because that is my story. It was just, I can't sign up for this for the rest of my life. Nope. Mm-hmm. So I got same on the path of real estate. So you were probably ahead of the game from a lot of your coworkers then who got that layoff notice, who were used to just showing up every day for their paycheck, right?
Absolutely.
You already had that taste of success for having that one deal under your belt. When you went to do your second deal, you said you went to sellers. So why? Let's share with the listeners why somebody would want to do a seller financing deal with you.
It really will depend on their situation. Sometimes they don't have all the time in the world to wait to sell it traditionally. They need, they may have maybe relocated for work. Now they're living someplace else. They have two payments now. It's eating through their savings. That's just one way. There's multiple ways why a seller would want to do this. Sometimes they just see the benefit of it, where instead of selling a property, maybe they own it free and clear. Instead of selling it off and getting hit with a huge hit of taxes, they'll get the payments over time so that it lowers their tax burden on that. So that's another benefit to them. But once you explain that to them and they see that and they realize that, then they're open to that. So you're solving problems, if they need to get the property moved quickly, but also you're showing a way where they can actually save on their taxes if they have a lot of equity. That's another way that.
Right. And then a third way that I would think on top of that would be you're paying them the mortgage payment back to them. I'm assuming Absolutely. With interest on it. So then they'd be making interest on the sale of their house too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You can. It really depends. So I've actually done deals where the homeowner did not ask for interest or anything like that. So it was straight principal. So every single month I was knocking that principal down. So if I'm paying them $1,500, that's coming off that balance every single month. Sometimes they do want interest. It really depends on when you're talking with the seller, what you can negotiate. You can create some very creative deals when you're doing these.
I bet. Zero interest to me from a business mindset. Why would somebody want to agree to that? But if you're helping them, like you said, get out of a situation, they have a job transfer, they don't want to hold two mortgages. Mm-hmm. Okay. Absolutely. When you're doing this kind of creative financing, do you get in situations where the seller does need a down payment, say in order to go buy that next house they're going to buy? Do you have to come up with down payments?
Sometimes it really depends on what we're negotiating. Sometimes they need a little bit of money down. What we do is a lot of properties we do will get with either like a lease option where we lease it with the right to buy it, where we have control of that property. We turn around and we sell that to someone else on basically a sublease option. We put someone in the property that's looking to buy. They can put money down and they're going to buy the property. We'll collect cash flow in between. They'll put money down up front. But sometimes if the seller wants some money down, let's say they want $10,000 down to do this. If it's a great deal, maybe I've structured seller financing terms where a person, if they wanted, they don't have to go to a bank. But let's say if I didn't want to put $10,000, I can then turn around and find someone who has $20,000 to put down. And I catch 10 for putting the deal together and I give 10 to the seller. So I don't specifically have to stay in the deal if I want to. I can make money just by actually engineering the deal.
Right. So that's a faster in and out for you.
Yeah. And if it's a deal I like, from previous deals, I can actually take the money and actually put money down. If they're going to give me some amazing terms, maybe a low payment, I can put money down and actually take that property as well. Again, if they're financing, I don't have to go to the bank. I don't have to jump through all the, the requirements and all the hoops and everything like that. I'm setting it up directly with the seller. So again, you can create some very creative, no interest, whatever. And you can make payments, that are more beneficial to you, a lower payment where you can make more cash flow on it. It really depends what you negotiate with the seller.
What's your favorite strategy? Is there one home run that stands out to you that we're like, oh, that was the perfect deal?
That's a good question. I like them all, really. But my personal favorite, I've always liked it because it was the first way I did a deal was when I leased the property with the right to buy it. I didn't have to go buy the property or anything. I just basically got control of the property for 5 years. In my first deal, I got control of the property for 5 years, and I turned around. I just went in there, and they needed someone to help out. So I was covering their mortgage and everything like that. Well, what I did was I turned around and I found a tenant buyer, someone who actually wants to buy a property. They can afford it, but for whatever reason, they can't qualify today. Maybe their credit is a little off. Maybe they're not enough time on their job. I'm giving them that time, and they put money down. And that could be a significant amount. It could be $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 down or more. It really depends on the price. But they put that money down, and you can raise market rent on the property. So you get cash flow in between. And whenever they do buy the property, whatever spread, because you're always going to take it back out to market with appreciation. So let's say if I got it under contract for one price, I figure an appreciation of maybe two, 3 years down the road, and I raise the price. So the buyers may be buying it at a higher price because they're going to buy it at an appreciated price down the road. Whatever spread there is left over minus what they put down, that's another payday that comes to me at the end. So I like that strategy because, again, it's easy because I can get into it. I don't have to actually go buy the property or anything like that. I can just take control of it and make money on it. And over time, you'll get deals where it fits better with a seller financing. Those are the types of deals you can hold those.
Right. And I have a question for you because you've been doing this since pre-COVID. Or did you ever get burned in during that COVID period where inflation all of a sudden just went through the roof? Did you ever, because I'm assuming you're pre-guessing an inflationary amount on the properties, right?
I figure in kind of what I see in the current moment, and I figure for per year, however long I'm going to put it out for. And I kind of figured for that. I actually, probably about a year or so before COVID, I was actually turning a lot of properties. I wasn't taking the properties on. So that helped me out a lot. I was able to do that. But I was just turning the properties where I'd set them up and I sign out of it, or I'd get in for a short period of time and I was out. So I didn't get really hit too hard with the whole COVID, thankfully.
Okay. I feel like your creative approach is kind of like don't keep all your eggs in one basket strategy. You have this
Yeah,
creative basket, but there's multiple different scenarios that you can be playing out, different houses with different terms on them.
absolutely. Yep.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's kind of
yeah.
fun.
It really depends because you can use these to actually. It depends on the market. Up, down, sideways. However the market is going, you can use these techniques to actually make money. And like I said, this is what I used to actually get started in real estate. It got me through my foot through the door basically, and it allowed me to exit out of my job. I didn't have to go back to a job really. I got laid off, but I didn't have to go back. Again, I had to make that decision. And I really think that sometimes we get to a point in our life where we have to make a decision. Do you want to actually remain in the status quo of life, or do you actually want to make a change? And that was my decision I had to make. But that allowed me to actually build the life that I have now with being able to acquire real estate and be able to help many people in the process. I helped hundreds and hundreds of sellers over the years and buyers too, and help them, but also being able to help my family as well, just by doing this and like I said, making that decision at that moment.
Definitely. And for those houses that you are keeping for like acting as landlord in a sense for a few years as you're waiting for people to buy them, are you managing the properties?
That's the beauty of this is when you sell it on a lease option, the person you put in the property, again, they're putting money down, but they're also responsible for all the maintenance and upkeep on the property during the term. So they don't call you in the middle of the night, hey, my toilet is clogged or anything like that. They have to take care of all of that. That's part of the responsibility that they have to do because they're working to become a homeowner.
Right. So they are already committed to buying that property from you.
Absolutely. Yep.
That's fascinating. And that makes sense. They're going to want to fix the things and do the upgrades or the maintenance at least to keep it in good standing so that when they go to buy it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then the money they put down, again, a person doesn't put down, 10, 15, $20,000 down to start damaging a place. They take care of it because they're working, because when they do buy, that money gets accredited toward the price of the property. So they take care of the property a lot better. And for whatever reason, let's say they do have to leave, which that money they put down is non-refundable. But if they do have to leave, you can do it all over again. You can get someone else in the property, collect another deposit down, and that person there can work toward buying the property as well.
Right, because you still have the property, the rights to the property are yours. You're just finding a new person to go in there.
Absolutely.
Does that happen often?
No, what we like to work with people that are, just about ready to get a mortgage. So we work with them, we give them that time, and probably around 98, 99% of the people we work with cash it out. Because again, I want someone to actually buy the property. I like to set them up for success to actually become a homeowner, really. But there's occurrences where they might have to leave. Maybe they got a job transfer out of state, or they have to move for a family, or whatever reason. If they do leave, then we can actually get someone else in the property, and they'll work toward buying that property then.
Right. So how do you find these sellers that are motivated to work with you?
They're out there all over the place. They could either be for rent. A lot of times a seller might be selling a property and it's taking too long to get it sold, but they're sweating out that payment. So now it becomes a rental property. They don't really want to rent it, but they'd rather get it sold. And that's how we can come in there. Hey, I can lease that property from you for 1, 2, 3 years, and then I'll buy it for the price that we can agree upon. And that gives me the time to find someone to actually get in that property. They're going to be the one buying the property. I basically get paid to set it up. And while doing this, I come across sellers that want to sell with seller financing. Those are the properties I hold in portfolio. It really depends on what we create on those terms.
So then to find them, are you reaching out to like essentially landlords, the for rents in the area and being like, hey, just curious if you're wanting to sell kind of situation?
Yeah, we'll do marketing. We'll put out marketing to people for people selling, people that are renting their properties, and they come into us. They call us from that. Hey, I got a property here, and we talk to them. We have a good conversation with them, figure out what's going on, and from that, we basically create an offer to them which solves the problem. What's the problem that's going on? And we solve that problem.
And for the buyer side of it, how are you screening your qualified buyers?
We actually have a service that we use that we run them through. So we figure out kind of how soon are they actually going to be able to get a mortgage. And we work through with that time frame there. Again, if it takes a person, it's going to take a person, 24 months to get a mortgage. I'm not going to put them in a property where they have to cash it out in 12 months. So you're always going to set it up for, can they actually perform on this? And you're basically guiding them. They have to do the work, but you're basically guiding them what they have to do, the steps they have to do, and they actually will go cash the property out. They'll buy it. And then whatever you have in between, you'll get that as well.
Neat. This is fascinating. Do you help people do this as well? Like for you, you work with sellers and you work with buyers. Do you also teach people to do what you're doing?
That's a great question. And yes, I do. I work with people in a one-on-one fashion where I teach them how to actually do this, how to actually use these techniques to actually start making money in real estate, how to actually acquire properties. If they like, they can visit my website at Creative Wholesaling, where I teach people one-on-one how to actually do this, how to actually implement, how to actually basically a blueprint where they can actually go out there and start doing it themselves, and they can start acquiring property and they can build wealth and exit out of a job if they don't like it.
Because we know there's far too many people sitting at jobs like you and I were one time going, I cannot do this for the rest of my life. What else is out there? And real estate is a fascinating tool. It's just one of those things that you can buy that has value when the world is inflationary, going like crazy. Property prices are moving along with it. Sure, they don't have blinders on. Property prices do go down at times too, but overall, real estate plays out for the win at the end. Yeah, so that's great. So you work with people. So do you like mentor and coach them through walking them through calls, walking through them through the deals and the terms? If they come to you and say, hey, is this a good deal? Is that kind of...
Yeah, that's exactly what I do. I mentor them to actually build a business, and if deals come along, we go over them. We do, condition them on the phone so they know what to ask the sellers. Because again, that's a big part of it. When you put marketing out, people come to you, but what do you say to them at that point there? And I get them, conditioned so they know what to say, and I can ask the right questions to get the person to realize this is a good offer. And then at that point there, we present the offer to the seller. And, if you like, I can share with my offer that I actually give to homeowners that you can share with your podcast.
Yep, that would be great.
Yeah, you can visit my website at creativewholesaling.com. That's creative wholesaling. It's a combination of creative financing and wholesaling, because again, sometimes you may not want to stay in the deal. You can wholesale or sell that deal off. But you can reach out to me from there if you're interested in learning about how you can actually do this. And you can actually use these same things that we went over. If you want to actually acquire a property, maybe your own home, you can use that, if you want to buy a property with seller financing from a seller that you can actually live in yourself. You can use these strategies for that. And many of my students actually do that. Actually, they get a property that this is better than my current home. I'm going to take it over and I'm actually going that property.
That's excellent. And where can people find you on Instagram?
They can find me at Damon Boudreaux. That's my handle.
Okay, perfect. That's your name. That's your handle. Easy to find. Well, before we go, Damon, I just want to ask you one of my favorite questions. What is your advice for someone who's listening for them to go out and create a life they love?
I would say to sit down and focus on what exactly you want. It might be, I want to have financial freedom. Okay, well, what exactly that look like? And sit down and focus on exactly what that is. And then now, what do I have to do so I can actually become that person, or become the person that's actually achieving that? Once you know those steps, now you have a plan. Then it's just basically taking action on that. We all get to a point in our life where we might get to a crossroads where it's like, do I keep going on this, or do I go another path? That's how I was when I was working at my job. I got to the point where I had to do something. And thankfully I had done in that moment where I actually went, started looking for real estate. Instead of, I could have just been in that moment saying, well, I think about it, I want to do it. But then that wall would have hit me like everyone else, and I would have had nothing. I'd had to go to another job. I would have had to have done that. But by, deciding that enough is enough, basically, I want to have a change. I want to have a change. I want to be able to have control over my life. If you can, like I said, focus and what you want and what do I need to do to become that, and then take action on that. If you can do that, you will succeed in anything in life.
That's sound advice and a perfect way to end the show today. Thank you so much for joining me on the show today, Damon.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Hey, wait, before you go, do you want to increase your income by $1,000 a month? If so, check out our free side hustle guide at www.fourleaflifestyle.com/money ideas. I'll pop it in the show notes for easy access.
Thank you for joining me on another episode of the Manifestation and Money Podcast. If you enjoyed today's chat, be sure to hit that subscribe button to catch more of our weekly episodes. Until then, cheers to creating a life you love.